Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. And out here in the tackle room late at night, man, it's been a long day. I had an on the water lesson today at Table Rock Lake. I had another on the water lesson early tomorrow morning at Table Rock Lake, and just ready to get some sleep here in a little bit. And just wanted to kick out today's video so you guys have something to watch when you got up this morning or this afternoon or whenever you watch the video. So much appreciated you tuning in. And today we're going to talk about the noises, the pings, noises the electronics sonar units make into the water, and specifically how it affects shallow water bass when you're shallow water, less than 10 foot of water type of thing. I'm going to give you guys some experiences I've had with it and some advice and some tips that might help you out with it. And speaking of on the water lessons, real quick, if you guys are interested in booking an on the water lesson with me, just shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blockett, Professional Angler, and I'll give you all the info on that. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, we'll talk about the electronics here. I've been using electronics, ever since I've been fishing back in, the old flasher days back in the late 70s. And one of the things that you notice, I remember those old flashers that we used even up until the 90s, the Humminbird and Lowrance flashers, especially the Humminbirds. They were so dang noisy. You turn those things on and they like to vibrate the front of your deck off. It was super, super noisy. And same with the pings in the water. And even today's sonar units that you have, even if you've got the latest sonar, if you listen in the water, if you put your ear in the water, there is a very loud, audible, just a clicking sound, like click, 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 just uniform like that goes out into the water. And the thing about this is bass are extremely sensitive to sound like that, vibrations, noise vibrations in the water. They can, sense a crawdad clicking around, from a long distance away, and they can sure in the heck detect and sense sonar pings going in. And like we talked about in the video yesterday that I did on the trolling motor noise, about how the bass are born with this and they get conditioned to this, because the pings from a sonar unit are the same with the trolling motor noises. Ever since a bass is born, the ping from a sonar unit is part of their environment. And I equate it the same way we talked about with the trolling motor. It's like the more pings that you have, the more intensity, the more boats that are in the water, and increasing the amount of pings in the water, bass react to that. And they will become more active or less active based upon, how much of that's going on. So specifically what I wanted to talk about today is shallow water fishing, how it affects it. I think that bass are more affected, obviously in shallow water, than they are in deep water, although they are affected in deep water. I've talked to a lot of the deep water experts out there, and a lot of them will tell you that they can actually see fish on their electronics react to pings, as far as on and off units, that type of stuff. It's the same with shallow water, specifically if you're fishing water really, really shallow. Like if you fish a lot of shallow grass, like, Florida type fishing, if you're fishing a lot of shallow laydowns, shallow stumps, shallow docks, any place where, say, your boat is actually sitting in less than 3 or 4 foot of water, this is the situation where I think it's magnified more than anything else. The biggest piece of advice I can give you guys, if you're fishing shallow water targets, like going down a bank, flipping bushes, flipping laydowns, throwing to targets that you can actually see in the water, is turn your electronics off. Not only turn your trolling motor mounted front unit off, but also turn your console off, because the console ping, even if that transducer is glassed into the back of the boat, it still sends off a vibration those fish can detect. So turn them off. If you don't need them, and you're not having to specifically line up on a break, or if you're not having to, find grass on your electronics, or you're not having to stay in a specific depth that you have to key in on, just shut those units off. Just put them on pause, and you can go through there much more stealthy, picking apart the cover. And I know it's tough for a lot of people to do, because so many people out there are so reliant upon constantly looking down at your electronics. Think about it. Next time you guys are out on your boat, think about how much your eyes are glued to your electronics, even if you're in shallow water. It's almost like an addiction that we have, like a muscle memory type of a thing. And it's very awkward. If you've never done this before, if you've never shut your electronics off, even if you're fishing shallow cover, you will find yourself constantly looking down at that unit that you just can't help it. You can't. It's just part of your body's intuitive, memory that you go through. So first thing I'd suggest is just turn them off. And by turning those things off, another thing it does is it forces you to expand your awareness on a more primal level. I mean, it forces you to get more in tune with, the angle of the bank, and you can, see the, rock transitions and various different water clarities, and pick apart that shallow cover a lot more thoroughly than you would if you had your electronics on. It's very refreshing, to be honest with you. For example, unless I'm fishing offshore grass in Florida where I have to actually see the bottom, I never use my electronics like in shallow water in Florida. I always turn them off. If I'm flipping bushes and just a visible line of bushes, there's no need to have your electronics on. There's absolutely no need whatsoever. Any shallow water target that thing. Just get comfortable with fishing it out of it. If you're fishing shallow water and you just can't stand it, stick your rod in the water. That's a good way to tell you how deep it is real quick. But anyway, that's just the tip for today I wanted to pass along with you guys is turn those units off. Those electronic pings will spook the bass, not spook them to the point where they won't bite, but you're definitely going to get more bites if you turn those electronics off and not just give the bass another reason to make them even more wary than what they are already. So anyway, hope the tip helps you guys catch a few more fish. Much appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and we'll see y'all later.